Mr. Charles Dorsey.
I am deeply humbled to be before you today, and I am graced with the opportunity to present the first word of the book of Luke, chapter 23. It says, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Can I briefly paint a picture for you? Jesus is on the cross. He is positioned between two thieves, two criminals. Rejected by the world, he was sent to save. This rejection has led to an inhumane crucifixion. Brutally beaten, battered, bruised body, being the most innocent yet the most physically abused. Even the criminals could not comprehend what warranted him such abuse. And all this done in the name of religious justice. The religious leaders called for this. Lord, have mercy. What a tragedy, suffering for ignorance. Suffering at the hands of those you were sent to liberate. Those intolerable, ungrateful, disrespectful, rude, nasty, and simply unlikable people were allowed to have their way with Jesus. And the soldiers willingly and cheerfully crucified him. The nails have been driven into place. Blood, breath, and coloration are leaving the body. Can you see it? Can you imagine the thoughts that have been provoked by this rejection? Can you imagine how you would have responded if you were in the same place? Now hear his voice saying, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. And now this text is difficult to digest because it calls for an indescribable grace. I've never seen someone endure such undue and misplaced hatred. It calls for a grace that's an endangered species nowadays. It calls for a type of mercy that this world is unprepared for. It calls for selflessness that causes you to put aside everything about yourself and look to the need of others. It really calls for a divine sense of purpose. And I had to ask the question, what was Jesus thinking when he was crucified and had the nerve to pray for the forgiveness of others? And as I observed the picture of a brutally beaten Jesus, as I tried to comprehend what it is that would provoke Jesus to permit them to do such things to him and still be nice and loving to them, as I tried to think about what it is that enabled him to do it, I realized something. And that something is the point that I'm just going to get to you, and then I will take my seat. You see, the point is that there are some things in our life that only God can do. There are some situations that only God can deal with. And I believe that once we get this reality into our conscience, once we realize that we're not all of that in a bag of chips, once we're really able to humble ourselves underneath the hand of God and accept the fact that it takes a high power to get through this life, we'll be better off. Yes, we will. Sometimes life takes us to a place where we feel invincible. We feel untouchable. We feel unstoppable. We feel like we're on top of the world. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. You might have just gotten married to the baddest girl since sliced bread. And she might just be rocking your world. And you feel like you're unstoppable. You feel like you're untouchable. You feel like you're on top of the world. And then God has the nerve to reveal the reality to you. That there are some things in life that only God can deal with. And only God can tolerate. You know what I'm talking about. You might have just gotten a promotion on your new job. You might have just gotten the office window with a beautiful view. You might have just gotten new income. you really feel untouchable. You really feel invincible. And you feel like you're on top of the world. And yet, in the nick of time, you find that there are some situations that only God can deal with. I mean, you could even have just gotten a new car and a new house in the recession. I'm talking about a good house, the one that you go upstairs, and the one where you got the walk-in closet, and you got the stand-up shower, and you got the lay-down shower with the button that you press and it gives you bubbles at your own pressure. I mean, you really might feel like you're unstoppable, untouchable, on top of the